You are evil itself. You are the best companion of justice. After waking up, Lorraine traveled to Marvel World and became a 17-year-old student at Midtown High School, awakening both systems. The first way is to create villains who feed on negative emotions and weave fantasy and lies into reality. The second type is to play the role of a hero, relying on positive emotions for a living, and defeating the villain can enhance one's strength. You want me to be the villain, you want me to be the hero. Lorraine scratched his head and said helplessly, then I can only become the villain myself and then defeat myself. Riddle Man vs. Captain America, Laughing Bat vs. Iron Man, Reverse Flash vs. Thunder God, Crime Syndicate vs. Avengers Alliance. This is a behind-the-scenes mastermind wearing countless vests, directing and starring in the story of the Meimang incident. Keywords of the novel. I am in the Meimang director's big event without a pop-up window. I am downloading the complete set of Meimang director's big event TXT, and I am reading the latest chapter of Meimang director's big event. Chapter 1. Starting from Urban Legends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Starting from Urban Legends, New York, late at night. In a small room. The lights were not turned on and it was pitch black. Lorraine sat at the desk, a handsome face turned pale from the computer screen. Playboy Tony Stark is attacked in the Middle East and mysteriously disappears. Spider-Girl reappears. Is it a criminal or a monster? Horn Daily News, commemorating Captain America's great contribution, starting from 1941. Did I really travel? Looking at the hot news on the browser homepage, Lorraine's gaze couldn't help but flicker slightly. He was originally a self-media worker, specializing in horror, occasionally commenting on horror movies, and occasionally popularizing urban legends. After staying up late to work once, he fell asleep. Wake up here. According to online news, this is Marvel World. Marvel. Lorraine is relatively familiar, but after countless restarts, Marvel has many parallel universes. He doesn't know which Marvel universe this is. There are Iron Man and Spider-Woman, but the timeline can confirm that Tony Stark has been attacked. Iron Man is about to appear. The seemingly peaceful life in New York is coming to an end, and the world is entering the era of superheroes. In this lifetime, Lorraine attended Midtown High School, which was Spider-Man's alma mater. 17-year-old, afraid of campus violence. Everyone has come, and I can only accept all of this, but I must find a way not to drown in the upcoming historical tide. Just as Lorraine was accepting his new identity, a virtual interface suddenly appeared in front of him. Several lines of text are clearly visible even in the dark. Strongest villain system activation, host binding. Lorraine, gold finger. Lorraine's face lit up with joy. As a traveler, how could it be without this? You are the negative embodiment of Marvel World, destined to spread fear and darkness throughout the world. You have the ability to weave fantasies and legends into reality, but now your power is still too weak. Please create a strange story first, starting by collecting negative emotions weaving reality. Lorraine was suddenly surprised. This power was too powerful, right? Clicking on the system will bring up a pinching interface. Lorraine casually operated it, and the interface features were quite rich, able to create any species and appearance. But, fear figure. Negative emotions priced at 1,000 points, assimilation of flesh and blood. Negative emotions at a price of 5,000 points, embodiment shadow. Price 10,000 points. Negative emotion. The talents here all require negative emotions to purchase. Lorraine glanced at her negative emotions and a 0 o'clock flickered brightly. He couldn't help but think of a joke. I want to create strange stories and collect negative emotions. But you don't have negative emotions, you can't create strange stories. Difficult to withstand. As the saying goes, as a seasoned horror enthusiast, Lorraine knows that sometimes it doesn't require any special abilities to make people feel scared. Just a rumor or a face. After a moment of contemplation, an image appeared in his mind. Lorraine's mind twitched slightly, and the pinching interface began to work. In no time, the image of a woman wearing a big coat, a scarf, holding large scissors, long hair, and a mask was completed. Lorraine showed a faint smile. The cracked woman, this is the image he wants to create. Without any special abilities, relying solely on her appearance and a pair of scissors, Lorraine believed it was enough to cause a panic in New York. However, some localization is still needed. As a strange tale of childhood, it may seem a bit out of place in America. Lorraine began to fine-tune the image of the cracked woman. The first step is to transform the original black-haired Asian woman into a white beauty with blonde hair and big waves. Just still wearing a mask. Then comes the size of the body, all stretched to the maximum, even when wearing a coat, the uneven curves cannot be hidden. Great, that's all for pinching people. If I had this pinching skill in my past life, I would have been able to do some side jobs to show my buddies something good. Save your image and then advertise. Under neon lights, the city shines like daylight. But even so, there are still places that cannot be illuminated. A corner of a block. Yo, thick rice, what good products are there recently? Crabs are not meat, why don't you tell your buddies when they come out? Two gang men greeted each other affectionately, and in the shadows, they exchanged a small plastic bag containing powder. After a burst of joy, the two said goodbye, and the gang man with a hood hummed a hip-hop tune to find new fun. When he turned a corner, he saw a woman wearing a big coat and a mask standing under the dim yellow light. Wow! The hooded gang man's eyes lit up. This girl was amazing, with a hot figure and a big white girl. What kind of good day is today? I tasted good food again and had such a romantic encounter. Without any hesitation, the hooded man whistled and walked towards the windbreaker woman. Hey! Little sister, what are you doing here alone? Do you want to go play with your brother? The more he walked in, the more the hooded man became tempted. Although wearing a mask, only half of the face is already beautiful enough to make one's bones tingle. Plus this figure, even if the remaining half of the face is a monster, that's enough. Anyway, pulling it into the corner, it's pitch black, it's all the same. The windbreaker woman had no response to the gang man's approach. The gang man smiled and said, "What's wrong? You're shy. Don't worry, brother has very good skills." At this moment, the woman in the windbreaker turned her head and spoke in an emotionless voice. Am I beautiful? Wow, what a joke. Of course you're beautiful, you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. The gang man is not lying, just seeing this body, he is already a bit unstable. No, I can't hold it anymore. The gang man approached the woman in the windbreaker with a smile and directly grabbed her shoulder. His hand was about to pinch towards the woman's towering position. The woman in the windbreaker did not react and did not push her away. I really made a profit today. The gang man was getting excited when he heard the woman chuckle lightly. So, what about this? The woman slowly lifted her mask and revealed her true face. Under the smooth skin, the normally normal mouth seemed to tear open, and the torn part spread directly to the root of the ear. The flesh and blood of the wound wriggled, and the slender tongue stuck out. This torn curve seems to be laughing. Beautiful eyes, terrifying mouth, and the impact of this pair made the gang man fall directly onto the ground. Now. Is it still beautiful? Where else can the gang man answer? His body trembles violently. Ah ah ah. He flustered his hands as he fumbled around, seeming to want to pull out his gun. What are you? Stay away from me. I see, is this your answer? The cracked woman pulled out a pair of scissors from under her windbreaker. Then turn you into someone like me. Don't do it, ah 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 ah. Negative emotions detected, lust value +10, +20. Negative emotions detected, fear value +100, +100. Since the gang man approached the cracked woman, Lorraine, who had been staying in the room, was constantly receiving negative emotions. According to Lorraine's setting, the cracked woman won't kill anyone, she will only make those people's mouths look like hers. Killing can only earn one person's fear value, but if not killed, leaving behind those victims can actually spread the news of the cracked woman. Create greater panic. I am simply a genius who creates terror. Lorraine felt proud and excited as he looked at the brightly lit New York City. Starting today, I will become the biggest villain in this world. Ding, Justice Partner System activated, binding host. Lorraine. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Justice Partners are about to take action. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Justice Partners are about to take action. Justice Partner System. What the hell? Lorraine clicked on this new system with a bewildered expression. You are the embodiment of justice in Marvel World, destined to fight all crimes in the world. By combating criminals, you can gain positive emotions, but now your strength is still too weak. Please start with small things and become a just partner. I really like a sentence from the Traveler. Ah. Lorraine is foolish. He just awakened a system of the strongest villains, and now he has a system of just partners. Is this forcing oneself to experience schizophrenia? However, when Lorraine clicked on the mall of the Justice Partner System, he couldn't hold his breath. Immortal body, human fruit, phantom beast seed. Nika form, infinite sword technique, 12 spells. Among the dazzling display of goods, although they all require positive emotions to purchase, any one of them can directly make Lorraine the protagonist. Moreover, there are still unlocked products on top of this. Lorraine immediately made the decision. From today on, he will be a partner of justice. You have received a beginner gift package, please check it out. Oh. This Justice Partner System actually returned the gift package, much better than the villain system. Open the gift package. You open the beginner gift pack, you have obtained the purple playing card, Prayer Carl. Isn't that a novice hero of the Blade Tower? Lorraine immediately opened the card and found that it was indeed the supplicant in the Sword Tower, as he had imagined. You can equip playing cards to acquire the skills of card characters. Cards have growth potential, and you now have one playing card slot. Equipment card. Lorraine immediately equipped the Prayer Carl, and a powerful magical power spread throughout his body. In the Blade Tower, Carl is a very special hero. He doesn't have active skills, only 3 passive skills, and 1 useless ultimate move. The 3 skills involve hanging balls with different elements for oneself, with a maximum of 3 balls. Ice hockey with skill blood sucking, thunderball with reduced cooldown and increased movement speed, and fireball with enhanced elemental damage. However, when different numbers and attributes of elemental balls are combined together, a brand new skill can be formed, which can be stored by the ultimate move, with up to 2 skills stored. For example, a combination of 3 ice hockey pucks forms a skill called Rapid Cooling, which empties the enemy's heat and reaches absolute zero. 2 ice hockey balls and 1 thunder ball, forming the skill Ghost Walk, Invisibility and Recovery. In summary, Carl's 3 balls combined can form a total of 10 skills. Lorraine waved his fingers lightly, 2 ice hockey balls and 1 thunder ball dancing at his fingertips. 2 layers of cold ice and 1 thunderbolt, the obstacle of Maret. As the chant for the 2nd year of the middle school was recited, Lorraine performed a ghostly stroll, and his figure immediately disappeared from the room, standing in front of the mirror without any trace. The invisibility of Ghost Walk is permanent, as long as it does not require skills or attacks from others, it can remain invisible forever. A card can possess 10 powerful skills, and this wave of luck is good. Unfortunately, the person who prayed, Carl, is a bit mediocre, and his skills and lines are not very magical. Lorraine took down the playing card, and with this card, he also had the power to protect himself. With skill upgrades, he can still become stronger. This Justice Partner system is indeed very powerful. It seems that we need to collect positive emotions early to make ourselves stronger. According to general rationality, the larger the antagonist you defeat, the more positive emotions you gain. But there are exceptions as well. According to Lorraine, the main focus of this justice partner system is on influence. For example, in the eyes of the world, preventing a nuclear bomb from bombing New York naturally generates more positive emotions. But if it's in an unknown corner, even if it's preventing Mia-ba from clicking his fingers, there won't be much positive emotion. In fact, the harm of both is not on the same order of magnitude. Of course, defeating the boss already brings a lot of positive emotions. And this system seems to only reward those who do good, but not punish those who do bad. Suddenly, Lorraine had a bold idea. Can he create his own villains and defeat them on his own? While harvesting the wool of the strongest villain system and stealing the tribute of the justice partner system. The more you think, the more feasible it becomes. The impact of cracked women should slowly ferment in the near future. Since that's the case, as a righteous partner, we must increase our efforts to spread fear. Lorraine is looking forward to tomorrow more and more. The next day, Zhongqing High School. Even the strongest villain and righteous partner in the future, Lorraine must go to school. Negative emotions detected, fear value +10, +10. The incident of the cracked woman seems to be spreading, and Lorraine has started to receive some negative emotions in a scattered manner. Great, following this trend, I should be able to exchange a few powerful talents soon. While immersed in his own thoughts in Lorraine, he heard a roar. Lorraine. Lorraine woke up in shock, and the teacher on the podium was angrily looking at him. There were also giggles around, and some classmates were curious to turn around and look at him. Sorry, Mrs. Harrington. I stayed up late to study yesterday. Lorraine immediately apologized. He is a righteous partner and will correct any mistakes immediately. Let's not take this as an example. Mrs. Harrington let Lorraine go, now let's turn our attention back to the classroom. The other classmates immediately withdrew their attention. But Lorraine slipped again. His attention was focused on a blonde girl sitting in the front row. Although Lorraine has just transferred to another school, he also remembered the name of this girl for the first time. Gwen Stacy. There is a saying that no matter what universe Gwen Stacy is, she will definitely fall in love with Spider-Man. But the problem now is that there is no Spider-Man in this world, only Spider-Woman. Lorraine also knows that the true identity of Spider-Girl is Gwen. From yesterday's news, it seems that Gwen has already made her debut as a Spider-Girl. With her meddling nature, she will definitely meet with the Spider-Girl, which is not acceptable. Lorraine thought for a moment, but then realized it didn't matter. When creating the Rift Woman, I did not give any special abilities, only a terrifying face. If the cracked woman dies, create another one yourself, and it won't cost much anyway. It can also create a false impression that a cracked woman cannot be killed, adding a touch of horror. In other words, a cracked woman is a consumable. The bell rings after class, and it's time to finish school. Lorraine packed her backpack and prepared to go home to start today's bizarre talk. As soon as I walked to the school gate, I saw a group of people bustling together. When I walked in, Lorraine showed a strange expression. Just like Gwen was destined to fall in love with Spider-Man, Lightning Thompson is also destined to bully Peter Parker. This time, Lorraine caught up. Parker, I've been interested in a new pair of shoes lately. As a friend, would you give it to me? Thompson slammed Peter Parker's wall against the wall, and next to him stood a playful crowd of teammates from the Lightning Thompson basketball team. As for other students, although they can't stand this kind of behavior, they can only choose to shut up and protect themselves wisely. The money is in my left pocket, but Lightning, your behavior is not right. As an ordinary high school student, Peter Parker, although he has a sense of justice in his heart, can only choose to persuade Thompson, who is much stronger than himself, weakly while obediently spending money. Although he doesn't understand what, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility, means, he already understands what, the smaller the ability, the smaller the responsibility, means. Shut up. Parker. Thompson took out his money and punched Peter Parker in the stomach. Peter curled up in pain, like a shrimp ball. Sigh. Upon seeing this scene, Lorraine could only sigh. Why is there always bullying in the world, even on campus? Coincidentally, there are also many spectators around. His righteous partner can't bear to watch anymore. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Lorraine's Justice Speech. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Lorraine's Justice Speech. Thompson, stop it. A loud shout interrupted Thompson's bullying of Peter. He looked over with a displeased expression and realized it was the Asian transfer student from a while ago. Oh, I brought some fresh meat to my door by myself. Thompson smiled. The current transfer students don't understand the rules and need to make changes. I don't mind spending time teaching today. He clenched his fists and twisted his neck towards Lorraine. What kind of thing do you dare to meddle in my affairs? Facing Thompson's undisguised threat, Lorraine showed no fear. He said solemnly, when you see injustice on the road, you naturally have to take care of it. You bully people in front of so many people, why don't you let them talk? Oh. It seems that a Mr. Justice has arrived at our school. Thompson sneered, unfortunately, it takes strength to see the road ahead. Lorraine's face turned cold, and his aura skyrocketed. His fingers gently danced, and 3 invisible elemental balls had already switched out. Then let's compete and see if I have the strength. Thompson's face turned pale, this Asian yellow skin is really arrogant. He ran out of patience and was about to take action when suddenly someone spoke up. Wait a minute. It's Peter Parker, he has now recovered from the pain, touching his stomach and struggling to speak. Luo. Mr. Lin, right. I'm glad you stood up for me, but no need. Lightning, I gave you the money you asked for, there's no need to make things worse, right? Although Peter Parker of this universe did not become Spider-Man, his innate kindness allowed him to make a choice. He doesn't want to see others get hurt because of himself. You said it well. A beautiful blonde girl with delicate features walked towards the teaching building holding a book, her face full of anger. It's Gwen Stacy. Lightning, you're acting recklessly at school. Do you really think no one can care about you? If you keep going, I don't mind talking to Mrs. Thompson about your performance at school. After speaking, she gave Lorraine another approving glance. This classmate didn't pay much attention before and didn't expect such a sense of justice. And it also looks very good, with a sense of mystery from the East. Positive emotions detected from Peter Parker, gratitude value +5. Positive emotions detected from Gwen Stacy, approval value +5. Feeling feedback from the system, Lorraine remained expressionless. These positive emotions are too few to fill the gaps between teeth. And Lightning Thompson was already extremely angry at this point. He certainly didn't dare to provoke Gwen. The woman's father was the police chief, and he even moved out his mother to scare him, so he could only suffer a loss. But he absolutely cannot accept that Lorraine can still be unharmed after provoking him. Hahaha, what's the problem with my performance at school? How many awards have I won for the basketball team? It's this transfer student. Peter and I had a good chat, and he insisted on coming over and provoking me. It's still my fault. After speaking, he turned his head to look at the onlookers. Do you think so? Did he take the initiative to provoke me? This. Under the fierce gaze of Lightning, those students dared not speak, stuttering one by one, and dared not reveal the truth. Thompson turned around satisfied and said to Gwen, you see, even though I am the victim, I still have to be threatened by you. Am I unjustified? You. Gwen was momentarily speechless, and she was very puzzled as to why other classmates, even though they had seen the whole process, dared not testify and wanted to reverse the truth with Thompson. Thompson is proud that you, Gwen, can be here for a while, but not for a lifetime. Zhongqing High School, after all, he is the Lightning Thompson. The final say. What else do you have to say, Gwen? Seeing Gwen's face turn red from holding, Lorraine knew that she would eventually make her own appearance. Miss Stacy, thank you for your kind words and assistance, Mr. Parker. Thank you also for your kindness. Lorraine humbly and politely stepped out and stood in front of Gwen. But often the truth doesn't make sense, justice won't uphold itself. Gwen had no idea that Lorraine would step forward. Is this transfer student brainless? I have helped him to this extent, why do I still take the initiative to step forward? Does he think he can beat Thompson with all his muscles? The classmates around also whispered to each other, giving Lorraine a brainless label. Thompson is finally satisfied, is that right? What kind of man is hiding behind a woman? You're trying to kill yourself. He let out a loud roar and took the initiative. A fist as big as a clay pot came straight towards Lorraine's face. Someone next to me closed their eyes, unwilling to see the cruel scene that was about to happen. Peter Parker's eyes were moist, and he didn't expect Lorraine to do this for him. From today on, he is his best friend. Gwen sighed lightly, his body strengthened by the spider ready to save Lorraine as quickly as possible. At this moment, Lorraine gently lifted his right hand. He silently recited in his heart, ice, thunder, fire, Brovant's powerless sound waves. 3 elemental balls were constantly spinning around him, unleashing a powerful thrust. The skill is called superseismic sound wave, which releases powerful sound waves and causes damage to the affected enemy units. The pure absolute impact formed by the sound waves will shake away the affected units and temporarily lose their ability to attack. Also known as Shenluo Tianzheng. Bang, just in front of everyone, Lightning Thompson flew backwards like a broken kite, slamming onto the trash can and leaving the ground in chaos. The mouths of the people around me are simultaneously wide open, enough to fit a light bulb. This result is too unexpected. Then, the crowd quickly became noisy. What happened just now? Too fast. I didn't see it clearly. Kung Fu. This person knows Kung Fu. Among everyone, only Gwen could see what was happening clearly. But at this moment, she was completely immersed in her own thoughts. What's going on? Does this person also have superpowers? Is it Eastern magic? Is he an Eastern wizard? Thompson struggled out of the trash can, feeling pain all over his body and an indelible fear on his face. His gaze at Lorraine was filled with a strong sense of fear. Unlike the restlessness of others, Lorraine casually recalled the elemental ball. Do you still need to spell it with me? Thompson gritted his teeth, unable to resist at all. In the end, he could only forcefully hold on to his position and leave a message, "You wait for me," before limping and fleeing. His dog-legged little brother also left with a gloomy appearance. Negative emotions detected, fear values +10, +10, +10. Damn it, Lorraine felt a bit sore, and despite her actions, she didn't collect much positive emotions. Instead, she collected a lot of negative emotions. The first reaction of these people is actually fear of themselves. This is too detrimental to his character design. Fortunately, he still has a backup. Lorraine took a step out and loudly said, "Everyone has seen it. This is the Lightning Thompson that you have been afraid of. Now, please answer me a question. Is there any difference between him at this moment and the one you were bullied before?" This statement made people who were originally afraid hesitate. It seems that there really isn't much difference. Lorraine smiled and said, "The fear that comes with violence will eventually be overthrown by violence. I believe in a saying from my hometown. If you are poor, you will be alone, and if you are successful, you will benefit the world." He paused for a moment and then spoke loudly. "The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Starting from today, as long as I stay at this school for a day, I will not tolerate any bullying behavior. If you have suffered injustice, you can come to me and I will do my best to help you." Previously, you didn't dare to speak up, but now it's different. I want all of you to say no to bullying. Silence, a deathly silence. Lorraine waited silently. Finally, in this silence, a burst of cheers erupted that could overturn the school. Okay. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Carrying Guns on Patrols. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Carrying Guns on Patrols, Positive Emotions Detected, Gratitude Values plus 50, plus 50, plus 50. Positive Emotions Detected, Joy Values plus 50, plus 50, plus 50. Positive Emotions Detected, Admiration Value plus 50, plus 50, plus 50. Feeling waves of positive emotions, Lorraine knew she had taken the right step. Becoming a protective umbrella for the weak is what just partners should do. However, where did all this love come from? There aren't many girls on site, are there? Positive emotions detected from Peter Parker, gratitude values plus 100, plus 100, plus 100. Positive emotions detected from Gwen Stacy, approval values plus 50, plus 50, plus 50. Lorraine, thank you for taking the lead for me. Peter Parker covered his stomach and walked up to Lorraine, expressing his gratitude. Lorraine waved his hand and smiled humbly, it's nothing. The education I've received since I was young has made it impossible for me to sit idly by with evil deeds. Your move is so cool, is it kung fu? I've watched many kung fu movies, Bruce Lee's, it's so cool. Peter Parker actually didn't see clearly what Lorraine had done at the time, but at this moment he was emotional and just wanted to find more topics to talk to Lorraine about. Gwen held the book and stood aside for a while before silently leaving. Her heart was constantly pondering whether Lorraine had superpowers. If there really is, with his sense of justice, perhaps can you become your own partner? After reaping a wave of positive emotions, Lorraine returned home satisfied. As soon as he put down his backpack, he couldn't wait to open the Justice Partner system. 5,450 positive emotions. And this is only today, when his speech spreads and starts later, he can reap another wave. Of course, these positive emotions are not in vain, and Lorraine must take responsibility for his speech afterwards. He is certainly mentally prepared. Let's first see what these positive emotions can buy. Lorraine opened the Justice Partner Mall, and the top item was still attractive, but Lorraine couldn't afford it at this time. He carefully browsed through the products priced at 5,000 points. Cien Do, 1 capsule. From Dragon Ball, it can quickly restore physical strength and heal all injuries. Invisibility Cloak. From Harry Potter, not one of the Deathly Hallows, just a regular invisibility cloak, its effect will weaken with the number of uses. Soul-Slaying Sword. Shallow Strike. From Death, the soul-slaying sword, whose real name is not yet known, may have extremely powerful abilities. Lorraine browsed around and finally saw an object that made him feel a bit excited. Noah Face Fong Xiang. A mask made based on the main character of Noah opera, which can withstand a fatal attack by the wearer. Lorraine clicked on the message, which contains detailed instructions about the square mask. Fong Xiang was a deity in the old legend of exorcism and ghost hunting. Later, he was replaced by Zhong Kuei in folk beliefs and was only preserved in Noah opera. This mask is made according to this, with a red overall color and golden accents on the double pupils, exuding a sense of mystery that has been passed down from ancient times. According to the persona I have arranged for myself now, I will definitely become a superhero in the future. This mask is just right for me to use. And it can withstand a fatal attack with 5,000 positive emotions, which can be said to be quite cost-effective. Redeem. A burst of light flashed, and Fong Xiangnua's face appeared in the hands of Lorraine. Lorraine tried to wear it, and the mask was made of wood, but the material was extremely hard. The size is just right, and the mask is tightly attached to the facial skin, never falling off due to one's own actions. The next step is to wait for the opportunity and debut as a superhero. Lorraine smiled and put away her mask. If everything went according to plan, Gwen Stacy would definitely come into contact with her during this time. It's time to test my acting skills. Close the justice partner system, and in the blink of an eye, Lorraine opens the strongest opposition again. 4,300 points of negative emotions, the cracked woman can achieve such an effect with just one action, and can now proceed to the first wave of upgrades. Click on the pinching interface, and the cracked woman stands quietly in the center of the interface. There are two directions for upgrading a cracked woman. One is to increase her appearance's level of horror, and the other is to give her special abilities. But now, the two directions are not actually contradictory. Soul shock. Price 3,000 points negative emotions, give the target soul a shock, causing it to enter a brief state of weakness, during which the target's emotions will become extremely sensitive. Faced with powerful souls, they may suffer backlash. This is exactly what the cracked woman needs now. Combined with the thrilling face when opening the mask, the effect is excellent. As for the negative effects, Lorraine ignored them directly. The cracked woman doesn't even have a soul, why talk about backlash? Tonight, fear continues to spread. Mike, will you love me forever? Of course I do, little fool. How can you doubt my love for you? Mike, I love you. Me too. In the park, under the moonlight, a couple is like glue. After a long time, the two finally finished their relationship. Alright, I must go back, otherwise Daddy will definitely curse me to death. Then I'll give it to you. No way. My dad might see it. Okay baby, remember to think of me when you go back. Saying goodbye to the girl in his arms, Mike opened his phone and began editing messages. How about it, buddy? In 3 days, take it as soon as you say you take it. The chubby guy from the neighboring department has been chasing her for 2 years, and today he even came over to ask me to treat her well. He's almost making me laugh to death. After sending the message, Mike is ready to leave. At that moment, he saw a woman standing alone under the street lamp not far away. Wearing a coat and a mask. But just looking at that figure, Mike felt his throat dry. Excellent, absolutely excellent. Mike wiped his hair and walked towards the woman with a smile that he thought was the most charming. Tonight, take a gun on patrol. Ah. Mike ran wildly in the pitch-black street. He desperately covered his mouth, but blood gushed out from between his fingers. His eyes were terrified, as if he had just experienced the most terrifying thing in life. A graceful figure walked elegantly, holding blood-dripping scissors, lightly following behind him. Mike's footsteps were already disorganized as he ran and knocked down the trash can on the roadside. He fell to the ground, but still struggled to get up with all his might and continued to stumble forward. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Mike's desire for survival has skyrocketed to the extreme. No matter what the cost is, he must survive. Finally, he waited for a miracle to appear. Sir, please come over here. Mike listened to the sound of heaven and suddenly turned around to see a strange man wearing an eye mask, a black tight-fitting suit, and holding a short stick suddenly appearing beside him. Come behind me, don't be afraid, I will protect you. The blindfolded man walked up to Mike and protected him. The cracked woman had already arrived not far from the two of them, and her fierce and terrifying face made Mike's liver and gallbladder crack again. But the short stick in the man's hand, which covered his eyes, suddenly moved slightly, just an ordinary movement, sealing off all directions that the cracked woman came from, preventing her from moving forward. Monster, Mike can't speak clearly, but he still keeps pointing at the cracked woman. Don't panic, don't panic. I am the night demon hero, I will protect you. Daredevil Matt Murdock comforted Mike in a soft voice, not looking at the direction of his fingers. Instead, he turned his face and listened attentively. Strange. Why can't you hear the sound of a heartbeat? Is it a ninja from the hand club again? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Spider Miss. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 5. Spider Miss Matt Murdock appeared calm on the surface, but a terrifying wave had already stirred up in his heart. It's so strange, so strange. Although his eyes were blind, his other senses were extremely sensitive. Based on the contour of the wind, he had already determined that a woman holding scissors was standing in front of him. At first, he thought it was just a couple's argument escalating into a physical altercation. But now it seems that it's definitely not that simple. The man behind him has a strong smell of blood and rust at the corner of his mouth. His mouth has been cut open, with a deep wound that may have reached the root of his ear. But the woman who did it was extremely unusual. No heartbeat, no breathing, not even feeling her temperature. Just like a dead person. The man behind him kept shouting monsters. Is it a description or a truth? Are you saying that this woman looks like a monster, or is she really a monster? Anyway, Matt made up his mind not to let the man behind him be hurt again. Hee hee. A burst of light laughter came from the woman in front of her, speaking in a beautiful voice that seemed to arouse the deepest desires of the man. Am I beautiful? The woman's voice came with the wind. Listening to this question, the man behind him let out even more horrified screams, as if he had a great psychological shadow over the question. Of course you are beautiful, said the night demon Night Matt naturally. He's not lying, although he can't see a woman's face. Judging from any feedback he feels, the woman in front of him must be an extremely beautiful woman. Hee hee hee. Upon hearing Matt's affirmative answer, the cracked woman was extremely happy and let out heartwarming laughter. How about turning you into someone like me? After speaking, like a ghost, the cracked woman lifted her scissors and floated forward. No footsteps. Matt was suddenly startled. His muscles reflexively swung his blind cane and fiercely hit the cracked woman. The short stick hit the cracked woman's body fiercely. There were no unexpected screams, and the cracked woman's movements did not even pause. She still held up her scissors and rushed towards Matt. Did I really hit her? Matt became suspicious of his senses for the first time in his life. The tactile sensation transmitted by the blind cane was too strange. Although it hit a human body, the eerie and terrifying sensation transmitted through the blind cane made him shudder. At this moment, there was really no time to think too much. The fighting skills that Matt had learned since childhood made it easy for him to control his stick and strike back, lifting the scissors in the cracked woman's hand. Madam, please calm down a bit. Matt was trying to dissuade the cracked woman from committing violence again, but his soul trembled suddenly, followed by a violent shock. Ouch! Matt's superhuman-like senses made his soul extremely sensitive, and he was suddenly shaken by this soul, making him feel like his soul was wandering in the sky, and he immediately knelt and retched. Mike, whose emotions were already out of control behind him, fainted directly. At this time, Matt was not the night demon hero who had fought alongside Jean and ultimately had an incredibly strong will. He was just a powerful vigilante with fighting skills, unable to resist this force. The intense tinnitus caused him to lose all contact with the outside world, and the sound of reality seemed to be a few light years away from him. Hee 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 hee. The cracked woman picked up her scissors and walked step by step into the night demon hero. Negative emotions detected, fear values from Matt Murdock +50, +50, +50. Matt, calm down, calm down. Matt kept trying to calm himself in his heart, which seemed to be effective. His breathing slowly calmed down, but it wasn't until then that he realized that the woman had come to his side. Ha! Closing his eyes and waiting for death is not his style, but living towards death is often his choice. Matt suddenly jumped up and hugged the body of the cracked woman, a cold feeling seeping into his limbs. But at this moment, he had no time to think much. He charged forward with the cracked woman, ignoring her, and finally slammed into the railing on the roadside. Lifting the short stick high, just as it was about to be fiercely smashed, my arms suddenly became empty. The woman he tightly hugged is gone. Matt stood back in fear and kept listening to the movements around him. No, nothing. That woman disappeared out of thin air. Did I beat her away? It seemed like victory, but Matt had no joy in his heart. It can even be said that today's experience has surpassed his cognition, and he is really not sure what he has encountered. Come like a ghost, walk like a ghost. Even ninjas in hand games cannot achieve this. He has no joy. I just feel like the wind tonight is piercing cold. It took him a long time to recover his energy. Turning around and pretending to have nothing to do, he said to Mike, who had already fainted, "All right, sir, I will take you to the hospital as soon as possible." As soon as the words fell, the sound of police sirens sounded in the distance. So fast. Before Matt could even let go of his thoughts, he realized that the sound of the police siren was not aimed at this place. In the distance, gunshots kept coming and going. Although gunshots in New York are not uncommon, there are indeed too many this time. Matt held his breath and recognized that the gang was chasing someone. A woman wandering around in the city. Bad luck, that's too bad. Gwen Stacy was wearing a black and white tight-fitting suit, weaving between tall buildings with spider silk. Several black vehicles behind her chased after her relentlessly, and someone poked their heads out and kept shooting at her. Next up is the New York police car. At this moment, she had a huge wound in her abdomen, and her tight-fitting clothes were already torn, revealing flesh and blood that was constantly gushing out. The intense pain made Gwen feel like his consciousness was being withdrawn. She temporarily wrapped the wound with spider silk, but it was only a temporary solution. No, we must get rid of them as soon as possible. Today, she was too careless. The gang she had dealt with actually joined forces and found a ninja who could hide her killing intent. When she finished cracking down on crime, she launched a surprise attack. Gwen was accidentally stabbed through the abdomen. Spider sensing didn't even provide immediate warning. Subsequently, a group of gangsters rushed forward, forming the current chase scene. But this is not what worries Gwen the most. The truly terrifying thing is still the ninja. Although he can't find where he is now, Gwen believes that that person must still be with him. Perhaps in some invisible shadow, waiting for oneself to reveal its flaws. The whistling wind blew past his ears, and Gwen's consciousness became weaker and weaker. She can't hold on anymore. But the threat from the ninjas was still above his head, and Gwen dared not faint like this. What should I do? Is today my end? No way. My band hasn't held a concert yet, and there are still so many criminals waiting for me to crack down on in New York. Come on, Gwen, you can do it, hold on. Gwen constantly cheered himself on and encouraged himself to run another distance. But the reason why invisible threats are terrifying is because they are in the dark. Gwen never knew if he had shaken off the ninja. Perhaps. He can't catch up with me anymore. Gwen thought this way, and suddenly the energy in his heart began to relax. She is really tired and really wants to find a place to rest. Gwen's speed began to slow down. And at that moment, a sword in hand appeared silently, accurately and deadly, hitting the bleeding wound of Gwenny. Ah! Gwen let out a scream, released the spider silk, and fell from a high place. However, the scene of her falling heavily to the ground as imagined did not occur. She was enveloped by a strong wind and slowly descended, falling into a warm embrace. Are you Spider-Woman? A gentle voice came, and Gwen opened his eyes and saw a familiar face. It's Lorraine. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Personnel Structure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Personnel Structure. At this moment, Lorraine felt somewhat helpless. He thought Gwen would come to find him soon, but he didn't expect it to be this way. What kind of trouble did Miss Spider get into to appear in such a disheveled manner? When she fell from the sky, of course Lorraine saved her. Double Thunderbolt, a layer of cold ice, the claws of Tonalis. The skill is called Attack Hurricane, summoning a hurricane to blow the enemy up. It is a control skill in itself, and if an enemy is blown away and falls, it will cause damage, which is why Lorraine personally caught Spider Mississippi. If we don't catch it, with Miss Spider in her current state, she might have really fallen to death. Lorraine let Spider-Woman down from her arms and let her sit by the roadside. I have mentioned your news, but I didn't expect to see you in this way. Lorraine said, fighting crime is also my dream. Gwen really wants to ask why Lorraine appeared here, but this question may expose her identity. Expose that she knew Lorraine. So Gwen could only say, nice to see you, but it's very dangerous here. There's a ninja hiding in the dark, you better leave quickly. But I can't leave you here. It's okay, I'm Spider-Woman, I can deal with that enemy. After speaking, Gwen seemed to want to stand up and demonstrate his fighting ability in order to prove his words. But just as her buttocks were lifted, the intense pain in her abdomen made her sit down again. Although her body had already pushed the sword out of her hand, the injury was still severe. Look, you're lying to me. After speaking, Lorraine shook his head and smiled, you don't have to worry about me. Actually, I also have combat ability. Gwen already knew this. Previously, Lorraine had demonstrated his extraordinary abilities in front of him, but Gwen dared not gamble on how powerful this ability was and whether it could solve the current crisis. She still wanted to insist that Lorraine leave, but it was already too late by now. Countless swords came from the shadows, targeting not only Gwen but also Lorraine. Be careful. Gwen silently reminded her that this was the only thing she could do at this moment. It's okay, don't worry, said Lorraine calmly. 3 different colored elemental balls spun rapidly beside him, and Lorraine recited a hymn in his heart. Ice, thunder, and fire, Brovant's powerless sound waves. The impact of the shockwave shook all the swords in their hands, instantly resolving the killing intent. Gwen's face under the mask was immediately stunned. Is this move the one used against Lightning Thompson before? The power difference is too great. A shadow around began to deform, and a black figure stood up from the shadow, slowly revealing its true form. He was wearing a black ninja suit and carrying a samurai sword on his back. The ninja stared fixedly at Lorraine, his eyes filled with resentment. Ninjas. I don't have a good impression of you. The setting of Meimang for the East is very chaotic, for example, the ninja organization of the Hand Association, whose founders all come from Kunlun. Lorraine has always felt a bit speechless. Gwen reminded beside him, this ninja is very strong. He can hide his own figure in killing intent, you must be careful. Hide your own figure. Is it like this? Lorraine moved his finger and cut out an ice elemental ball, squeezing out the previous fire elemental ball. Fire and ice thunder turned into ice thunder. 2 layers of cold ice and 1 thunderbolt, the obstacle of Maret. The ghost stroll was activated, and Lorraine's figure immediately became illusory and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Gwen was startled, even with the help of spider sensing, she couldn't find where Lorraine was. The ninja was also facing a great enemy, pulling out a samurai sword to protect himself, holding his breath and concentrating, listening to the movements around him. However, the ghost stroll that eliminated all traces was not something he could capture. When Lorraine appeared again, everything was too late. Triple Ice, the endless trembling of Szechuan. The skill is called Rapid Cooling, which empties the enemy's heat and lowers it to absolute zero. The heat around the ninja was instantly extracted, and his body was immediately frozen. Even though his reaction was astonishing, it could not match the speed of freezing. In the blink of an eye, there was only a humanoid ice sculpture left in place. Lorraine turned around and smiled at Gwen, so, isn't that a good move? Without waiting for Gwen to reply, his expression suddenly became somewhat strange and he quickly approached the ice sculpture. The person inside the ice sculpture is clearly visible. Despite being a good ninja just now, it has turned into a black substance. Even if sealed inside the ice sculpture, it quickly dissolves and disappears. Does it seem like he's dead? Lorraine thought to himself that this ninja could be confirmed to have come from a hand club. If a ninja from a hand club is defeated, they will disappear without leaving a trace. If they die, they can also be resurrected with a dragon bone at the 5 fingers. How did Gwen provoke them? How about standing up now? Lorraine approached Gwen and asked gently. Gwen gently pressed on his abdomen, and the pain was no longer as intense as before. It's already much better, I'll just sit for a while. Undoubtedly Spider-Man, Lorraine sighed inwardly. Although his self-healing ability was inferior to Venom and Death Attendant, it was definitely beyond words. When I first saw the Toby version of Spider-Man, I looked like I was about to pout after pulling the train, but after taking a few breaths, I actually recovered. Speaking of which, how's that ninja doing? Lorraine shook his head and said, it's gone, after all, it's a ninja, and some methods that others don't know are also normal. Are you also from the East, and don't you understand ninjas? The country and inheritance are different, and there is not much contact. Inheritance. Gwen captured key words in the Lorraine language. Does this person have a teacher? Gwen hesitated for a moment and asked, are you a wizard from the East? No, woo is a very special term in our area, I shouldn't be able to count it. Lorraine sat down next to Miss Spider with a smile and said, according to your understanding, I should be considered a magical apprentice. The kind who hasn't graduated yet. Is that right? Miss Spider pressed her hand against her abdomen, with the other hand supporting the lawn. Her legs stretched out, feeling the night breeze. Lorraine's sense of justice and the strength she had just shown made her completely relax. My abilities are suddenly acquired and I need to explore them myself. So I'm pretty much the same, Lorraine said with a smile. My teacher gave me a few broken books, all of which I had to learn on my own. Your teacher doesn't care about you. No matter what, our inheritance is like this, we have to rely on ourselves for everything, especially since I came to New York, I haven't had any acquaintances anymore. In just a few words, Lorraine's character was built. It has a mysterious heritage, but now it is not strong and very lonely. Gwen recalled Lorraine's performance at school, as if he had no friends as he said. Then we can be friends now. Miss Spider spoke lightly, you saved my life, and I am happy to be your first friend in this city. I am honored to have a superhero friend. In fact, I am also doing my best to help more people, Lorraine said step by step, directing the topic towards her planned direction. Gwen nodded to himself, Lorraine's words were true. However, actually, I think you can do more. Oh. Lorraine turned around in confusion, as if he could see Gwen's smiling blue eyes through the mask. Are you interested in becoming a superhero too? I can make it difficult for you to be your teacher. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Fermentation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Fermentation. Miss Spider didn't stay long and left, and her body was almost fully recovered. Only Lorraine sat alone in the same spot, feeling the evening breeze. I can reluctantly do it, teacher. Miss Spider's words seemed to linger in her ear. The answer to her was I am willing. Everything is in the plan. At this moment, Lorraine no longer had the enthusiastic look he had before, but quietly watched the flickering street lights in the distance. After several flashes, a woman's figure suddenly appeared under the streetlights. Wearing a coat and a mask, she is exactly the cracked woman. Just at this moment, she looks a bit embarrassed. She walked towards Lorraine, her eyes filled with grievances, staring at him with sorrow and resentment. Lorraine frowned and said, don't look at me like that. Your settings are all given by me. You can use this set to deal with other men. The cracked woman quickly lowered her head and stopped trying to look into Lorraine's eyes. Who did you meet today, being made like this? The state of the cracked woman was evident in front of Lorraine, clearly encountering a tough patch. She timidly lifted her head and a message was transmitted to Lorraine's mind, which was a scene of encountering Night Demon before. Matt Murdock. Did you run to the kitchen of hell? The cracked woman nodded. At this moment, Lorraine remembered that he had indeed received negative emotions from Night Demon before, and his fear level was not low. I didn't blame you. Your upper limit is just so high, but the Night Demon Xia was also scared enough and performed very well. You worked hard today. Lorraine waved his hand and the cracked woman disappeared from her original position. Daredevil Matt Murdock, this is quite unexpected. Lorraine murmured to himself. In the past few days, with the cracking women working overtime to commit crimes, their influence has begun to spread. The urban legend of women in coats has begun to circulate on the internet. Brother, I'm definitely not lying. I have a guy who's still lying in the hospital with his mouth completely torn open. That's an evil spirit. It's definitely an evil spirit. Oh my God, what kind of chaos is the world going to become now? People are discussing and some rumors are also spreading. Some people say that the cracked woman was originally a very ugly woman who made a deal with the devil. The devil gave her everything she wanted, and then cruelly took it away. In pain, the cracked woman committed suicide and transformed into an evil spirit lingering in the human world after death. Some people also say that a cracked woman is already very beautiful, but still feels that it is not enough. During a plastic surgery, her lips were cut open due to a surgical accident. In despair, she chose to commit suicide and transformed into a demon. Some people say she's human, someone said she was a ghost. The places where those cracked women once appeared were exposed one by one, and the residual blood on the ground told them that something had indeed happened here. Fear has begun to spread. The most direct impact is on the business of street girls in New York City, where no one dares to approach women under streetlights at night. She was wearing a coat and a mask, asking me if she was beautiful. In the special report on cracked women, the victim showed their mouth in front of the camera. The corner of the mouth was torn to the base of the ear, even though it had been sewn up, it still made people tremble with fear. I didn't do anything and was just targeted by her. A survivor burst into tears and said, I just said goodbye to my girlfriend that day. Fortunately, she has already returned, otherwise she would have been killed. Some people also claim to have been attacked by a cracked woman, but later discovered to be self-promoting. A woman dressed as a cracked woman appeared at the subway station, causing panic and ultimately being diagnosed with mental illness. The surging discussion has reached a point where it is almost impossible to suppress. Negative emotions detected, fear values +10, +10, +10. The value is not high, but the quantity is explosive. From a very early age, Lorraine began to receive a constant stream of negative emotions, with so many notifications that it even began to affect Lorraine's life, forcing him to turn on the undisturbed mode. That's why Tony Stark hasn't declared himself Iron Man yet, so I can pick up such a big leak. Lorraine is very satisfied with his current state, but he also knows it won't last long. After Stark held the press conference, it was like completely exposing the extraordinary world to the public. Even if the previous superpowers wanted to cause trouble, they had to wear masks to hide their identities, but since then, it has been completely explosive. At that time, just a cracked woman would really have no topic to discuss. You can still collect as much wool as you can now. When the popularity of the cracked woman reaches its peak, I will take action to knock her down, harvest a wave of positive emotions, and make the most of the cracked woman's resources. After all, it's America, where gangs are rampant and gunfights are constant. A ghost who only knows how to cut his face, even if he wins attention through curiosity, quickly falls. That's all for the upper limit of cracked women. Lorraine thought to himself. However, before he could take any further action, things suddenly began to deviate in a strange direction. In the midst of discussions about the cracked woman, an article quietly went online. Rift Woman, Victim Under Neon Lights. The title of the article is too outrageous, making even the creator Lorraine unable to resist clicking in. Then, he almost startled his chin. This article analyzes the beginning and end of the Rift Woman incident from a unique perspective, and based on the author's multiple interviews, it is concluded that the victims all took the initiative to approach the Rift Woman. The cracked woman herself just stood quietly under the street lamp and did nothing. And those men showed no respect towards the cracked woman, casually approached and even flirted with her, ultimately leading to her engaging in legitimate defense. From this perspective, the cracked woman is actually a victim. The article also provides a psychological profile of the cracked woman, inferring that she had a failed marriage and that the scars on her face were entirely caused by domestic violence. This led to severe depression in the cracked woman, who chose to take a walk at night because she was worried that the scars on her face would scare others. However, she still couldn't avoid being teased and approached by men. This is the misfortune of the cracked woman, and it is also the misfortune of all women in America. But it is precisely because Rift Woman dares to defend herself and fight back that the number of harassment incidents has significantly decreased. From this perspective, all women owe Rift Woman a thank you. Seeing this, Lorraine was speechless. He didn't even know that the cracked woman was so great. Although he did have some phishing enforcement skills originally. This is not over yet. At the end of the article, the victim's description of the cracked woman is defined as stigmatization, Rashomon-style self-defense, and those victims are the real perpetrators. This sentence completely ignited the topic. The crowd unconsciously divided into two factions, one supporting this article and the other firmly opposing it. Both sides criticized the incident on the website, extracting every detail from the report to prove their views. Then the topic naturally deviated. On the one hand, it is said that a cracked woman is being teased and is being bullied by men. On the other hand, they said that the cracked woman was white and the victim was black, which was an extreme racial attack. The image of a cracked woman instantly polarized, with a beautiful and tragic female model and a human demon of racial discrimination. From this moment on, the cracked woman became a tool used by everyone on the internet to vent her anger. Only Lorraine, with a bewildered expression, gained unimaginable negative emotions. And he clearly did nothing. Emotions are the same among netizens all over the world. Lorraine stood up and looked out at the colorful world outside the window. Magical, so magical. He really just wants to scare people. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Shadow Counsel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Shadow Counsel. Lorraine walked into Zhongqing Middle School carrying a backpack. When he stepped into the corridor, it was obvious that everyone's gaze was on him. Positive emotions detected, admiration values +10, +10, +10. Negative emotions detected, hatred value +10, +10, +10. Various emotions were collected by him, and with the spread of the previous speech, now Lorraine is really lying down collecting money, with a constant stream of various emotions. However, negative emotions such as hatred outweigh fear. It seems that there are still many people who are not convinced. Lorraine sighed and didn't take it to heart. What if there is hatred? It can only be hidden in the heart, dare to show it, and he doesn't mind making a few more moves. Lynn. You came so early. A joyful call interrupted Lorraine's thoughts. It was Peter Parker, who had been standing by Lorraine's side since he last helped him, unable to drive him away. Lorraine's expression showed no signs of impatience and he smiled gently. Parker, it seems you caught the school bus today. Yeah, to be honest, I've been working out lately too. Peter Parker and Lorraine walked side by side, doing a muscle demonstration. So, it looks like it's working out, right? Really, the two of them walked into the classroom, and Lorraine instantly noticed Gwen Stacy sitting in her seat reading a book, casually glancing at her, but quickly averting her gaze. These days have been like this. Lorraine is also very clear about why. In Gwen's view, the story of that night was only about Lorraine and Spider-Woman, and had nothing to do with Gwen Stacy. The two were still strangers. But after all, it's a first-hand experience, who can completely separate. That's why I have my current awkward appearance. Gwen occasionally glanced at Lorraine, but there was no communication between the two. At night, at Lorraine's house. Current negative emotion value. 270240, current positive emotion value. 21350 inch. The difference between 270,000 negative emotions and 20,000 positive emotions is quite significant. With so many negative emotions, it's time to do something big. Lorraine opened the strongest villain system, and this time he didn't want to pinch people, but had even crazier ideas: build a worldview. The current negative emotions can fully support his idea. First of all, redeem this. Shadow Council, on sale, 0.80%, negative emotions priced at 200,000 points exist in the void of the Parliament, which can come to various parts of the world. Within the Parliament, abstract things can be concretized for trading. 200,000 negative emotions were spent like flowing water, but Lorraine felt very profitable. The ability to allow abstract things to be traded is terrifying. Life expectancy, health, emotions, skills, and so on are all things that people crave. Nowadays, they can exchange them for other things, even without the need for Lorraine to do anything on their own. Humans will exert their subjective initiative and come knocking on their doors. This is the ability that only demons possess. And now Lorraine can do it. At the moment the exchange was completed, the scenery around Lorraine instantly changed. At this moment, he was in a stone hall, with stone pillars supporting and arched, and the dome engraved with the 7 kings of hell. The walls were hung with emerald green torches, illuminating the entire hall with a strange atmosphere. There is a long table in the center of the hall, with 6 positions on each side. At the head of the long table is an iron throne cast from thousands of swords and knives. Lorraine climbed up the stairs and sat in the center of the iron throne. His mind twitched slightly, and the cracked woman appeared below the throne, waiting for orders like a maid. The Shadow Council, I don't know where it comes from or where it's headed. The cracked woman is its messenger. She will appear under the late-night streetlights, asking if she is beautiful. If the answer is correct, she can be led to the Shadow Council and have the qualification to trade. But before that, I need to find some clients myself. There is a saying that only in the hospital can one hear the most sincere prayer. Anderson is such a person. He is a good husband who deeply loves his wife and also loves his own life. But life doesn't love him. This year, he suffered from company layoffs and lost his job. Misfortune never comes alone, and my wife has been diagnosed with kidney failure. Her entire body is visibly collapsed, not only unable to work, but also becoming a problem in daily life. The burden of life suddenly falls entirely on him. He had to spend all his time delivering takeout during the day and taking care of his wife at the hospital at night. Don't worry, everything will be okay. In front of the hospital bed, Anderson hid all his heartache and fatigue, leaving a smile for the person he loved the most. My wife is lying in bed, with a pale face that is also trying to smile. She wants to leave her best memories for her husband. Don't work too hard, remember. We once made an agreement to live a better life together, and I don't want to be your burden. I know, don't think too much. I'm really not tired, it's just that my stomach is a bit uncomfortable. I'll go to the bathroom and come back soon. Anderson found an excuse and left the ward. At the moment he walked out, tears welled up in his eyes. God, I sincerely pray to you, if you can hear my prayer, please let my wife recover as soon as possible. She is such a dynamic person, why did she become like this? Anderson cried uncontrollably, constantly calling out to God in his heart. In his opinion, only God can change the current situation. And just then, a voice rang in his ear. Sure. Anderson suddenly looked up, only to find himself no longer in the hospital. He was in a huge stone hall, with a person whose face was shrouded in mist sitting on the iron throne, looking at him with great interest. The emerald flames flickered on the wall, causing deep unease in Anderson's heart. Welcome to the Shadow Council. The person on the iron throne chuckled lightly and said, I heard your prayer and decided to respond to you. My prayer. Anderson's eyes widened and he stuttered, do you mean, you can help my wife recover? The Iron Throne responded, yes, it only requires a small price. Any cost is fine. Anderson grabbed a life-saving straw like a drowning person. As long as my wife can recover, I am willing to do anything for you, even if it means sacrificing my soul. Anderson is a devout believer who only believes in one God. From the very beginning, when he heard the name Shadow Council, he equated it with the devil. He had almost no hesitation in making a deal with the devil. I have no interest in your soul, said the person on the Iron Throne, but I want to ask you, do you only need to recover your wife? Do you need anything else, such as a decent job? No need. Anderson's gaze was firm. I can find a job on my own, and life won't always be bad. Only my wife is the only driving force for me to persevere. Okay, said the Iron Throne after a moment of silence, I can completely cure your wife, but as a price, you have two choices. One is to give me 20 years of life, or to give me 10 years of life, and then do something for me. Anderson's heart trembled, what a high price. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Angels. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Angels, Negative Emotions Detected, Fear Values +10, +10, +10. Today's Anderson has been completely frightened by Lorraine. With a lifespan of 20 years, he is now 30 years old. Assuming he can still live for 40 years, that would be to give half of his remaining life. Indeed, there is no easy option to make a deal with the devil. May I humbly ask, what can I do for you? It's very simple. Lorraine's lips curved into a smile, I need you to spread the gospel of the Shadow Council in the world. When 10 people come to the Shadow Church because of you, you have completed the task. Okay. Anderson nodded vigorously, I choose the second one, pay for a 10-year lifespan, and spread the gospel for you. In that case, the transaction is considered completed. Lorraine's voice suddenly became incredibly mysterious. I will take away your 20-year lifespan first. When you have fulfilled your agreement with me, you can come and claim back 10 years from me. There was no room for rejection, and Anderson watched as a void of air emerged from his chest and slowly flew into Lorraine's hands. His body suddenly became incredibly heavy. Go back and take a look, your wife's illness has already healed. Anderson's body trembled, completely unable to believe that the matter could be resolved so quickly. Sir. He opened his mouth to speak, but the surroundings quickly changed and he returned to the hospital corridor. Anna. Yes. Anna. He woke up from his dream and quickly ran towards the ward. When he walked into the ward, he saw the attending doctor and nurse conducting a check-up on his wife. The doctor kept muttering to himself, unbelievable, unbelievable. And his wife sat on the hospital bed smiling at him, her face rosy, no longer looking weak like before. Oh my God. Anderson cried and hugged his wife, how do you feel now? Is it still painful? Anderson, it's amazing. My wife Anna was extremely excited at this moment. You don't even know what happened just now. A woman who can't see her face suddenly appeared by the hospital bed and gave me a golden apple to eat. Then my illness all healed, and that must be an angel. Yes. Angel. Anderson finally understood that everything that had just happened was not a dream. He really switched back to his wife's health. He gently hugged his wife and said, it must be God who heard our prayers. Amen. Anna nodded vigorously and said, by the way, the angel left an envelope for you before leaving. Do you know what was written inside? I think I probably know. Anderson took the envelope and remembered the presence on the Iron Throne, secretly making up his mind. I will definitely complete my task. Positive emotions detected from Anderson, gratitude values +50, +50, +50. Lorraine rubbed his fingers on the armrest of the Iron Throne, recalling the previous transaction. Golden apple, worth 10,000 positive emotions, can instantly treat all diseases and restore all vitality. Anderson's 20-year lifespan is in his hands, and even just looking at it, Lorraine has an impulse to incorporate it all into his body. The attraction of lifespan to humans is innate. Suddenly, the cracked woman appeared in the shadow council. "Thank you very much," Lorraine smiled. The cracked woman remained silent and lifted her face, revealing a smile. The corners of her cracked mouth also curved into crescents. "Go take a break, you've really worked hard during this time." The cracked woman obediently left. Lorraine opened his hand, and the longevity air mass floated towards the dome, suspended in the air. The first transaction was quite successful, and I should have had the demeanor of a big boss behind the scenes just now. Next, it's the second transaction. On that night, Mitchum Manor, located in the center of New York City, was brightly lit. A few days ago, a premonition arose in the hearts of all members of the Mitchum family. The old man may not be able to do it anymore. Old Mitchum was the former head of the Mitchum family and co-founded the Rand Mitchum Company with the Rand family. His son is now the famous billionaire Harold Mitchum in New York City. At this moment, countless luxury cars were parked at the entrance of the estate, and the members of the Mitchum family had already arrived. They stood outside old Mitchum's room, anxiously waiting for the summons inside. In the room, old Meimang lay motionless on the hospital bed. His room has been transformed into a high-end ward, with countless medical machine pipes connecting his body to extend his lifespan for even a second. But the processes of biology cannot be so easily changed. Drip. 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 The fluctuation of the electrocardiogram is getting weaker and weaker, and old Meimang has reached the point of running out of oil and running out of light. Beside the hospital bed, besides the medical staff, Harold, the son of old Meimang, looked at his father with a sad expression on his face. Although his father's affairs had already been arranged, he couldn't help but feel anxious when faced with this moment. Not only for my father, but also for myself. He will also have such a day. Harold. A weak cry came from the hospital bed, and Harold immediately stepped forward, half kneeling beside his father. "Father, I'm here," you say. "Be careful of the Rand family." Harold's eyes were filled with tears and he whispered, "Father, I know, I've already solved everything." Harold. "I'm here." Harold. The old man's consciousness was still scattered, only repeating his son's name in his mouth. "Father." Harold cried uncontrollably. Even though he had immense wealth, he couldn't save his father's life at this moment. What exactly should I do? Harold Mitchum, the billionaire who dominates New York City, is now like a helpless child. He wants to keep his father's life, no matter what price he pays. And at this moment, the surrounding scene suddenly changed, and he and his father on the hospital bed arrived at the same time in a stone hall. What is this? Harold suddenly stood up and looked at the eerie scenery around him, feeling a wave of fear and unease in his heart. This old man doesn't look very optimistic. On the iron throne in the hall, a voice suddenly came, "Do you want to make a deal with me? I can help you save his life." Harold had been immersed in sadness before, which led to his loss of composure. At this moment, the rationality of his New York billionaire returned and instead calmed down. Where is this Shadow Council? Is it dark magic? It doesn't matter. Do you think you can save my father's life? Harold disdained this. As one of the top people in New York City, he naturally came into contact with the secrets that ordinary people cannot dispel. According to the black magic, what saves lives is nothing more than turning my father into a non-human monster. He can never accept it. I know what you're thinking. A faint voice came from the throne. You can rest assured that my methods are not beyond your imagination. Do you want to try them? See if I can save your father. After all, I believe that our transaction will not be limited to this one. Give it a try. Harold's gaze flickered, and of course he knew what the other person meant by that sentence. If he can really save his father, can he also keep himself away from death in the future? If that's the case, you can give it a try. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Devil's Means. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Devil's Means. What are you going to do? I can extend your father's life, but as a price, you will have to pay the same level of things. Harold frowned, unable to imagine anything equivalent to lifespan. What do I need to pay you? Jean, Lorraine whispered, as our first transaction, with a 1-year lifespan, I will only charge you 10,000 grams of Jean, and the price thereafter will be calculated based on 100,000 grams per year. Harold's pupils suddenly tightened. The price of 1 gram of Jean is $10,000, 10,000 grams, that's $100 million. This is still the friendship price for the first transaction. After another transaction, it will be $1 billion a year. But Harold is well aware that no amount of money will be of no use if his lifespan reaches its end. Since that's the case, let's give it a try first. I will purchase a 1-year lifespan for my father. Great, then the deal has been reached. As the words fell, Harold saw an incredibly magical scene. The person on the throne waved his hand, and a small part of the mysterious air mass on the dome flew into old Meimang's body. Then old Meimang's complexion turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the intermittent breathing sound also returned to calmness. Miracle. Harold's heart suddenly became hot. Really can extend the lifespan. I'll give you 1 day, and tomorrow night my envoy will come and collect the price from you. I hope you don't disappoint me. Harold shook his head repeatedly and said, No, I dare not play tricks on you. Okay, you can go now. Harold's surroundings changed again, and he and his father returned to the room. The doctors around were still busy monitoring various data, unaware of their departure just now. Devil's Means. Ha! The top doctor responsible for taking care of his father made a voice of doubt. Harold pretended to be indifferent and asked, What's wrong? This. It's strange. The old man's various physical indicators have all returned to the level of a year ago. It may be a machine malfunction, but I can't assert it for now. Further inspection is needed. Oh. That's hard work for you. Harold's heart was trembling. It's not just about prolonging life. But it will directly return to the level of a year ago. This is not a simple miracle anymore. He immediately thought of himself. He is already in his 50s, and all aspects of his body are starting to feel inferior to before. If you purchase a lifespan of 30 years, bring yourself back to 20 years old. 30 billion, a lot, but I can completely bear it. Back to the age of 20. Harold was on the verge of madness. He couldn't wait to leave the hospital room, ignoring the gaze of his family members waiting outside to ask questions, and went straight to a deserted place. Hello. It's me. I'm giving you a task now to purchase a batch of Jean. I need to see it tomorrow. How much? Starting at 10,000 grams, the more the better. Detected negative emotions from Harold Mitchum, fanaticism plus 500, plus 500, plus 500. Fanaticism value. What is this thing? Lorraine is seeing this negative emotion for the first time. And the quantity is terrifying. Anyway, make a small profit today. He originally wanted to receive cash, but his bank account would reveal his true identity, so he could only receive a deposit as a general equivalent. Fortunately, Jean maintains its value, and even after Wakanda comes out, the price will not fluctuate too much. Today's goal has been successfully achieved. Tomorrow, let the cracked woman collect the prize money, and then wait for Anderson to work. The Shadow Council will eventually become the desire of everyone in this city. After coming out of the Shadow Council, Lorraine has been thinking about future developments. The strongest villain has completely become legitimate, but the righteous partner has not yet started. My superhero work also needs to start as soon as possible. Good evening, Mr. Lorraine. The sudden greeting interrupted Lorraine's thoughts. Spider-Woman's white mask appeared outside the window, her whole body hanging upside down with spider silk, slowly descending. Lorraine was not surprised. Today is the day when Lorraine and Spider-Woman have arranged to meet again. Do you have to appear like this? Lorraine smiled. I made coffee. Would you like a cup? It might be tiring tonight. No need. Spider-Woman jumped into the room and surveyed the furnishings inside. Your room is cleaner than I imagined, doesn't it quite match my impression of teenage boys? I prefer cleanliness, Lorraine said with an expectant expression. What are we going to do tonight? Go guard New York in the dark, Gwen said. There are various criminal activities in Queens every night, and we need to completely eradicate them. Like something superheroes would do. We can definitely do it. A ghost Lorraine roast that Miss Spider was still a little naive. The city is truly sick, and if the city does not change, criminal activities will never decrease. Have you seen how many superheroes fly in the sky in New York, but has criminal activity decreased? Change the soup without changing the dressing. Moreover, there is a new star of sin, which is oneself. But he still said, what are you waiting for? Let's set off now. Stop. Miss Spider helped her forehead. Do you want to just go through like this? Show your face openly in front of those gangsters. Sorry, I'm a bit too excited. Don't worry, I'm ready. Lorraine took out Feng Xiangnua's face and put it on his head, immediately covering his entire face. What mask is this, the ghosts and gods of the East? Gwen propped his chin and looked at the square face mask with heavy pupils, golden eyes, and red face with great interest. You can understand it that way. He is a deity who drives away ghosts. The image of Feng Xiang is too ancient, and many people in his hometown don't understand him. Lorraine doesn't think he can explain it clearly to a New York girl in just 2 or 3 sentences. Just give a brief explanation. Gwen nodded but did not continue to ask. But when she saw Lorraine not continuing, she couldn't help but say, did you only prepare a mask? Didn't you prepare a tight suit? No, I'm not very good at handicrafts, but I'm pretty black now, right? Lorraine is indeed dressed in black, but it is a pure black T-shirt with work pants. It looks very casual and amateur. Okay. Miss Spider felt that she couldn't be too harsh on Lorraine. You give me your size, and I'll make a set for you another day. Thank you so much. Lorraine immediately stated her size. Is your figure pretty good? Miss Spider murmured softly. What? Oh, it's nothing. I said you don't need to be polite. After all, you saved my life. I won't say much, let's get ready to go now. End of this chapter.